And there we go. We have officially started this totally random podcast for Monday night. It is roughly 7:13 p.m. And yeah, it's one of those things, when the wife is out with her girlfriends, drinking wine, playing cards, just doing all that stuff that women like to do. I end up being alone. And when I get alone, I sometimes get restless. Therefore, a live stream. What's up, everyone? This is Kevin, the Apptrepreneur. Thank you for tuning into the Apptrepreneur show, whether it be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, all those things. So anyway, as I stated before, this is like kind of an impromptu little live stream. I figured I would talk more about the Dogecoin that I cashed out on, and particularly I want to talk about the capital gains tax that you have to pay when you make a sale of this magnitude. And my watch is reminding me that it's time for bed soon, but nope, we are going to do this properly. And I kind of want to show exactly what that might look like and how much I would have saved in taxes had I actually waited till next year to cash out. But then, of course, there was no guarantee that the Dogecoin would be valuable next year. And if we have time, there are at least two other topics I want to discuss. One about Google and one that might actually inspire people to go back to driving for Uber. I kid you not. But let's start with the capital gains tax. So for those of you who are not aware, when you make like a huge sale of assets, whether it be a house or stocks or cryptocurrency, you sell it for more than what you paid for, and in some cases substantially more than what you pay for it, you have to pay what is called a capital gains tax. And this could be very hurtful to your wallet, and a lot of people do not take it into account when they make these sales. And so I have heard people say, like, I hope you put some away for the capital gains tax. And yes, for the record, I have. But what does the capital gains tax actually look like? Well, let's show right over here. This is a smart asset website for capital gains calculator. And hey, Romeo, how you doing? And Stevie Curbs is also here. Welcome, guys. So happy to have you here. So this is a website that you can use to get a general idea of what you would pay. And this is not my location. This is my location. So this is what you would pay if you had some capital gains and what you have. So anyway, I'm going to start running through a few various scenarios here. And we're going to see what this might look like. Now, I do live in Los Angeles and I am married. Now, the annual income, let's say it's $65,000, even though I keep forgetting that 6 key doesn't work. Even though this is actually a bit more than what I make. Now, the initial value of the Dogecoin was $1,175. That's what I put into Dogecoin. We sold it for $14,523. Now, if I had kept this Dogecoin for more than a year, my capital gains tax would have been $552. However, that's not what happened. I bought the vast majority of the Dogecoin in January, some of it a little before then. So I had it for less than a year. Now, because I had it for less than a year, this, and keep in mind, I do have a higher annual income than what I posted. I'm just using an example. This is roughly what I will pay on the capital gain taxes for Dogecoin. $2,154. Now, let's say I'm a little bit more successful than that. Let's say I'm making $125,000 a year annual income as a married couple, which I make a little less than this, just to let you know. Well, now I'm paying $4,123. But what if we change the dynamics again? What if we're single? And as a single person, you're not making quite as much money. Let's say you're making $30,000 a year, which that's you pretty much just keeping your head above the water. Well, you're actually going to pay a little bit more. $2,225 will be your capital gains tax. Now, what if you decided to hold on to it for more than a year as a single man? And let's say, okay, it didn't stay at 74 cents. It went down to 47 cents, which is what it is at the moment. And let's say it stays there pretty consistently and you make about this much instead. Your capital gains tax will be $343. Now, some of you at this point might be saying like, well, but you lost out on an extra $5,000, so that might not be worth it, right? Well, maybe, but let's put it this way. Let's go back to the 65,000, and let's go back to the married, and let's say I held it for a year. It got to 47,000, then decided to cash out. Look, oh, it says single. Let's go to married. Okay, there you go. I mean, yes, I did lose out on a couple $1,000s. But now my tax is much, much lower. I'm not paying nearly as much for that. Now, let's do something crazy. Let's be like some of this one person who put in $1,000 and they wound up with a value of 125. This is pretty much what they came up with. They're single. Their annual income is actually closer to this, and they kept it for less than a year. They're paying $25,719, and this is where you really have to be careful about how much you put aside, because you get $120,000. It's like, oh, that sounds great, but no, this is what Uncle Sam wants. This is what Uncle Sam wants. Now, what if you are living somewhere that's not high density? Like, what if you're living in the middle of nowhere, like Tulsa? Sorry, Tulsa, is Tulsa in the middle of nowhere? No, sorry, Collison, Arizona. Sorry. Did I misspell that? I don't want to do it. Las Vegas, Nevada. That's there you go. Well, you go to Las Vegas, you're going to save yourself a few $1,000s in taxes because the tax codes are different, obviously. What about Houston, Arkansas? What about that? No, that didn't change much. Houston, Texas, maybe? Still isn't as much. So anyway, this is, if any of you made it rich last night, or the night before, I should say, first of all, congratulations, but just be aware, this is what taxes look like. Uncle Sam does want his cut. He really doesn't care how much you make, but, he doesn't care if you're poor, but if you make money, then he definitely wants his cut of it. And that is just life. It's one of the two things that are unavoidable in life: death and paying taxes. So anyway, I, for the record, have put aside $3,000 to pay the capital gains tax. Now, I might not ultimately have to pay all that because, again, I have tax write-offs that many of you do not have. I equipment for the YouTube channel, books for my writing. I have a bunch of expenses that most people do not have, and I will definitely use them, to mitigate how much of those taxes I have to pay. But we'll just have to see. So anyway, Muhammad says, hey, Kevin, did you look at the cup call phone mount? No, I did not. I did not look at that. So sorry. So anyway, that's kind of the main thing I want to talk about. However, let's, while we're here, talk about a couple other topics. And in fact, you guys, please chime in, and maybe you might even want to ask me something else. It's kind of a free-flowing night on the Apptrepreneur tonight. But I did want to discuss what might get people back on the ride to drive Uber, or basically what might get people to go back to their jobs at all. Because there's been a little bit of a conflict for companies like Uber and McDonald's and Walmart and all these companies, where basically the pandemic is getting under control. We're not out of there yet, and I'm still encouraging people to get their vaccines, but we are definitely in a much better place than we were before, and life is starting to return to normal. Stevie Curb says good rates. Yeah, I agree that would be. And that's actually what comes up a lot, because a lot of these companies say, well, look, we're calling our employees back from being furloughed, and they don't want to come back. They are refusing to come back to work. And that's created like a debate really about, well, why aren't people coming back to work? And I think it's a myriad of different reasons. The most prominent one that I do partially agree with is they're pointing out that these companies are not paying livable wages. Like, why would you go back to a job that pays a sucky wage? And here's the thing. I do partially agree with that. Low wages need to be fixed. I mean, some of these companies, it's funny that they say, we'll give you like a free gift card or something to come back. Well, why don't you give them a raise? If you're that desperate for work, why don't you give them a raise and get them to come back and figure out the economics of it through the pricing? I do agree with that to a certain extent. However, it has also been pointed out, and rightfully so, that there are a couple other elements at play here. One, people can't be evicted right now. Like pretty much anywhere, you can't be evicted. That's one of the reasons the housing market is in the crisis it's in, because banks have not been able to foreclose on people who have not been able to pay their mortgage. Now, I know there needed to be some protection because the pandemic ravaged our economy. At the same time, it also, let people basically cease paying their rent and save that money for something else. So I thought that's kind of a negative. But yeah, when you can't be evicted from where you live, don't need the paycheck as much. Another thing that is happening, not even the fact that you can't be evicted, but unemployment bonuses are super, super nice. I actually had about a month where I was collecting unemployment money before I got another job, and thankfully it was a remote work from home job. But for the little amount of time that I was getting that unemployment, it was nice. A $500 plus an additional $600 or something like that. No, it was $300. I'm sorry. Geez, that's $900 every week, pretty much. That was really nice. I was almost tempted not to accept a job, but I did, because I do the responsible thing. I actually want to work. I want to contribute to society. But it was very tempting. I have to say, it was very tempting not to accept that offer. So when you factor in that companies are not paying a lot of money, and this includes Uber and Lyft, obviously, and you're not going to be evicted from your house, and in some cases, unemployment is paying more than what that job would pay, well, you've got the perfect storm of people who, when Walmart calls or when Regal Cinemas calls, they're like, hey, good news, you can come back to work. People say like, thanks, but no thanks, we'll be fine. But we're starting to see signs that at least one of those problems are going to be addressed in at least 3 states, because according to Newsweek, 3 states will no longer pay the extra $300 in unemployment benefits. So For those of you who want to know what these states are, the states that will no longer give you the extra $300 in unemployment benefits are Montana, South Carolina, and Arkansas. If you work in those states, you will not be getting a bonus $300 for unemployment benefits, even if you are legitimately affected by the pandemic. So here's what the article says. Last week, Montana Republican Governor Greg Gianforte announced that those unemployed will not receive the extra $300 starting June 27th and said it was doing more harm than good. He says, we get candidates who will mention, hey, why would I go to work when I get paid more on unemployment to sit at home? Rachel Mata, an area manager for a Fayetteville, North Carolina-based staffing company, told the Associated Press, adding that it has been difficult to find new employees since the latest COVID-19 relief bill passed. And, I totally agree. I mean, look, I know that those benefits were definitely needed for a very tough time. But once things start getting better, you need to go back to work. And if you're paying them enough money to not do that, they're going to take advantage of that. As the economy rebounds 14 months after hundreds of thousands lost their jobs when the pandemic began, employers nationwide are desperately trying to hire employees. Continue reading. Edward Ravoto, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, is hoping the state of Vermont's reinstated requirement that people who are collecting unemployment benefits must also seek to work to qualify will help him hire enough staff for his restaurant in the resort of Stowe. Well, I'm just going to throw it out there. Your senator is Bernie Sanders, and giving away free money seems to be kind of what his shtick is, if you know what I mean. After more than a year of coronavirus restrictions on his business, Paiscasso Pizzeria and Lounge, hey, I've actually eaten there. I've eaten there. That's a good place to eat. He's expecting a breakout summer tourism season, but like employers across the country, he's worried he won't have enough workers. Quote, we've been getting many excuses as to why not to return, said Ravoto, who is offering a signing bonus of up to $600 to try to add 15 to 20 employees who agree to stay through the middle of October. Obviously, it was a legitimate one with COVID, but I think that's getting used less and less now. The vaccines are free. They are out there for anyone, including 12 to 15-year-olds now. Many employers are telling similar stories. The challenge was highlighted Friday when employers nationwide added 266,000 jobs, far fewer than expected, and businesses reported that they couldn't find people to fill the openings they have to keep up with the rapidly strengthening economic rebound. To encourage people to return to work, more states are making it harder for people to stay on unemployment. Many blame the easy benefits that followed the pandemic, including what is now a $300 a week supplemental federal payment on top of state benefits, which, keep in mind, folks, that's $12,000. I mean, shoot, had you been putting $12,000 of that bonus money into Dogecoin, you cashed out. You're a millionaire now. Several states have begun requiring those receiving unemployment benefits to show they are actively searching for work, and a few will stop providing the additional federal supplement. It's not just the hospitality sector that is scrambling to fill positions. Eileen Candles, based in Milford, New Hampshire, is looking to fill 1,500 positions for its facility there and another in New Albany, Ohio, to meet demand for the holiday season, because people burn a lot of candles during Christmas, in case you weren't aware. Company representatives will be participating in a number of virtual job fairs this month. We have had more than 100 positions open since the start of the year, and just recently we increased sign-on bonuses to $1,200 for hourly positions, in part because we are competing with an entity that can print its own money, the federal government, and it's $300 per week additional unemployment benefit, said CEO Rod Harrell. I would love to welcome those searching for work to join our team. Now, labor experts say the shortage is not just about the $300 payment. It's not. Some unemployed people have also been reluctant to look for work because they fear catching the virus. Although, again, there's a vaccine for that. I'm just throwing that out there. Others have found new occupations rather than return to their old jobs. That's true. And many women, especially working mothers, have had to leave the workforce to care for children. And also, I believe that, again, you can't get evicted from your house, so that's not a fear. And but I think the $300 payment is a big one. and partly because some of the old jobs don't pay as much. And it's one of those things where if you are getting some source of income, then you can, then how should I put it? Yeah, you can kind of afford, if you will, to not that they will see. I'm tongue tied right now. Basically, if you're getting free money, you can be a little bit more picky about returning to work or not. You can. So now it should be noted, and it's not in this article, but President Biden has finally drawn a line. And he has said that basically, look, if you are offered a job and you refuse that job, you will lose your benefits. Just outright. You will outright lose the benefits. Question is, can you really monitor that? Can you actually reinforce that? It's difficult. It's difficult in today's climate, and the government's not known for doing a lot of things particularly well. So, and actually, as Mohammed has pointed out, here in Michigan, stores are a mess. Merchandise all over the floor. Items need to be put on shelves. Only one cashier when needs 2 or 3. Starting hourly, $9. Yeah, I mean, if they would up that to 12, they would already see an increase. And I think companies need to start realizing that, like, hey, you know what? We're in a time where maybe you do need to have to offer a little bit more. Now, granted, with Biden's thing to cut off the supply, maybe they don't have to. Maybe they just have to now offer a job, knowing that basically if the job is offered, then, you know, they can then, that person's going to lose their benefits if they don't accept the job. But again, how are you going to verify that? I don't know. So anyway, I would love to know what you all think about that. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. Now, Stevie Curbs here says, people are worried about the vaccine, Kevin. Yeah, well, I'm just going to throw it out there because I hear that all the time. You know that the vaccine's been given out for more than 6 months now. And how many people have died from this? I think one person died from this. There were only 4 reactions. It was from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. It was a rare blood clot. It affected older women, and only one of them died. My question is, like, well, how long does it need to be before people feel safe about it? I mean, half a year, that seems pretty safe to me. I mean, maybe they're going to say a year. I mean, that'd be safer still. But for some people, that won't be enough. Like, when will it be enough? When will it be long enough to where you do feel safe about that? So just a question. Because, I've heard people say that, well, I'm taking a wait and see approach. And it's like, well, you've been waiting and seeing for like 6 months now, and nothing's happening. So just throwing it out there. Now, John says, are capital gains inside of a Roth IRA tax-free? That's a much more complicated question that I'm not going to be able to answer here, but you could definitely look that up. Now, Stevie Curbs comes back and he says long-term effects. Well, with all due respect, Stevie, and I say this with all love, I think most people are full of shit when they say they're worried about the long-term effects. You want to know why I think they're full of that? Let me tell you why. Because the vast majority of people who I know who say, I don't want to put that in my body, it's like, you know what they're eating on a weekly basis? Doritos and Mountain Dew. And pizza. And gummy bears. I mean, I'm not hearing vegans complain about this. Vegetarians aren't objecting to it for my effect, but the people who do, it's like they drink soda every day. Every single day. The most toxic thing, we know soda is so bad for you. And yet we put it in our bodies. And I'm guilty of that too. I love soda. I try to keep it to just the weekend, so that's a weekend thing, but I love soda. So I am totally guilty of that. But then my friend's coming along and he's literally eating Doritos, and there's a Mountain Dew energy drink right here. And he's going like, I don't know if I trust putting that shot in my body. It's like, shut up. You clearly don't care what you put in your body. You clearly don't. And, for some of the people who say like, well, it's not FDA approved, you know what? The FDA approved that it was okay to drink that Mountain Dew and eat those Doritos and eat all of this toxic stuff that's in the grocery store. The FDA approved it. So maybe they're not the best source of what's good to be. Maybe we shouldn't be looking to them to say, oh yeah, that's good to put in your body, because they approve so many things that at the end of the day, you really should not be approved. Okay, John says, sorry, I just had to go on that tangent. Says, I Google it, so yes, with a qualified distribution. So if you're getting capital gains from a coin, you might be able to use that strategy. Check with your tax advisor, tax lawyers, tax accountant. Well, for the record, not all of the Dogecoin that I sold went into my pocket. I am paying off the debt, the medical bills for my wife and stuff that were manageable, and we would have paid them off in 4 months. But you know what? Now we can pay it off right now, and that's what we're going to do. But we still had several $1,000s left over, and that got reinvested and put into stash and things like that. So, and that will also help our tax situation. All right, let's do the last topic that I have in mind, and then if you guys want to chat for a little while, we can. If as promised, though, at the beginning, if we get to $200 in contributions of super chats, I will drink Trump ice water. I think this bottle is, when was this bottled? I don't even see the expiration date on this thing. Oh, okay. So the water expired in 2013. Apparently this was bottled in 2011. So yeah, I agree, Jason. The FDA approved Taco Bell, the one fast food chain that consistently makes me sick, but oh, I love it, so I eat it once in a while. But anyway, yeah, if we get $200 in super chats, I will try Trump ice water. That is going to be there for the indefinite future. Anyway, let's do this final story. And the final story involves Google and Roku. And there's been like a little bit of a pissing contest, for lack of a better word, between Google and Roku. Like, Google is making some huge demands of Roku, things that I don't think they have the right to make demands of. Like, they want their apps to be prioritized when people use the voice search. They want them to use a certain type of video format for their future devices, things that could really raise the price of a Roku device. Now I have the hiccups all of a sudden. And Roku basically said, no, we're not going to do that. And they failed to come to an agreement, and they took the YouTube TV app off the Roku device. Now, if you already downloaded the app like I have, although I primarily use Apple TV, then they are still going to let you do that for the foreseeable future. And of course, YouTube is still there. But Google, those little slicksters, they actually have put the YouTube TV app in the YouTube app. And I love this headline. Google, we put YouTube TV in the main YouTube app. What now, Roku? And, here's the thing. On one hand, I have to laugh and almost applaud their cunning genius and actually finding a loophole like this, because it's not like Roku's going to take the YouTube app off the Roku devices. I mean, that is the #1 app out there. So obviously they called Roku's bluff, and it was a really clever way to do it. On the other hand, when Roku says that YouTube is basically, well, not YouTube, Google, I should say, that Google is being monopolistic and anti-competitive, and then Google says in response that Roku is using their position to strong arm them into a better deal, I look at a situation like this, and I think I believe Roku a little bit more. This is clearly Google using their popularity with YouTube and the fact that they know that it's like almost sales suicide to not have the YouTube app on the Roku device to get around what is clearly like clearly there's no license to have the YouTube TV app on Roku store. That contract expired, and now Google's basically put the YouTube TV app on Roku for free. And what's Roku really going to do about it at the end of the day? So let's look at this article real quick. So, here's the thing. So the next exciting episode in the saga aired on Friday when Google announced in a blog post that it was just going to run an end round on Roku and stick the YouTube TV app in the YouTube app. YouTube and YouTube TV exist as separate apps, and while the YouTube TV contract expired and the app was taken off the Roku store, the YouTube contract does not expire until December. Since the YouTube app is still running, Google was able to quickly shove the YouTube TV functionality into it. And by the way, if there is a contract negotiation, you can guarantee you Roku will put in the contract, you cannot do that. I don't think they're really allowed to do it now, but they might just let it slide because of the circumstances. On the side navigation menu, the last link in the list reads, go to YouTube TV. This is not unprecedented. It's actually the way YouTube Music works too, with a sort of app within an app interface. Google says it's still working to come to an agreement with Roku to ensure continued access to YouTube TV for our mutual customers. But Google threatened Roku with another escalation, saying we're also in discussions with other partners to secure free streaming devices in case YouTube TV members face any access issues on Roku. And that's basically a threat like, hey, if you remove the YouTube app from Roku, we might just give out devices and then no one will use Roku. So here's where I stand on this one. I think this is extremely, extremely petty. I do not like what Google did here. I think this was a very, very scummy thing to do. I mean, and here's the thing. I think it makes Google look worse than Roku, because Roku first warned people that the contract was about to expire and they listed a series of demands that Google had demanded they put before they renew the contract. Now, Google said that this is not the case. This is just what Roku does. But then the fact that Google is doing like a little backdoor policy thing, like we found a backhanded way to get back on the platform. I mean, that kind of supports Roku's story a little bit more, that Google is using underhanded tactics, monopolistic practices, and I don't think that's right. And it's not a good look for anyone, and the consumers don't win. Now, we are still in the midst of the streaming wars, and as a result, who knows where this is going to wind up. Google does have a Chromecast, and Amazon has a Fire Stick TV, and I would not be surprised if at one point, in order to try to get more people to the devices, they make their streaming platforms exclusive to their electronic platforms. And I wouldn't even be surprised if one day Disney releases the Mouse Stick, which is a little USB drive with little Mickey Mouse ears on it, and that's the only place you can watch Disney Plus. This can get very, very ugly, extremely ugly, and I think Google did themselves no favors here. The consumers might be happy, but I don't know. I mean, how does Roku respond? I mean, at that point, you almost have to remove the YouTube app off the device. You have to give them a warning at the very least and say, hey, look, if you don't change this, like, you cannot circumvent our agreements like this. You cannot circumvent our platform. You cannot cut in line, so to speak. You have to sign a new deal with us if you want YouTube TV on our platform bad enough. And clearly Google wants YouTube TV on Roku. Otherwise, they would not have gone through the trouble. But I don't know. This is just getting extremely ugly and extremely bitter. It's not a good look for them. It does not work for the consumer. So I don't know what's going to happen, but hopefully they'll figure it out, because these streaming wars are getting uglier and uglier. But anyway, I would like to know what all of you think about this. Do you think Google is right in doing this, or do you think they were wrong? I would love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. All right, comments time. We've been on for 35 minutes. Let's see if we can stay on for a little bit longer. So the Blu-ray guy, 1999, I love that, says, hey, Kevin. Well, hey, how you doing? And Low Roller Scratcher says, did you jump in Shiba Inu in the next Dogecoin? It's available crypto.com. I don't know what Shiba Inu Shiba Inu coin. I'm gonna look at it. So this thing is well, I guess I'll show you guys what this actually is. I found this on Coinbase, and apparently Coinbase isn't supporting it yet, but this is Shiba Inu, and it's not supported by Coinbase. Is it supported on Robinhood? I know you can't. No, it's not supported on Robinhood. Doesn't surprise me. So I can add it to the watch list, and I probably will do that. I mean, what the heck, that might be fun. I have like a variety of different cryptos on my Coinbase account. Some of them small, some of them not so small, but so I don't know. I'll look into it a little bit more. Blu-ray guy 1999 says, I'm doing good. Well, I'm glad you're doing good. So, by the way, folks, for those of you, since we were like, I was just ragging on people for drinking soda when it's clearly not good for you. Clear American. No one's paying me to do this, but this drink has pretty much saved my life. This tastes so much like a real soda, except it has no sugar, no carbs. And my doctor even said, yeah, no, that's a great replacement for soda. So this thing might just save my life. Who knows? That's good. Also, I've lost 5 pounds in the last 2 weeks, which is important if you want to be healthy. So, did you rebuy in Dogecoin again on the dip? Sort of. I bought $70 worth of Dogecoin, and I will probably buy a little bit more. But was I going to take all that money and rebuy on the dip? No, not even close. So, I'll just continue to buy it slowly. I don't know. The future of Dogecoin is definitely a little sketchy right now. It didn't quite hit $1, and now there's a huge dip. But you never know. You never know what's going to happen there. All right. Any other comments, guys? Any other questions? Any more concerns? Should I put Harry Potter on the TV? Are we allowed to do that on YouTube where we can just watch Harry Potter together? Probably not. I might just so here's what I'm thinking. Although I'm not very good at figuring out the audio, but I might so Prodigal Son canceled after 2 seasons on Fox. What the heck is Prodigal Son? Let's see. Let's see here. Prodigal Son. Fox has canceled Prodigal Son after 2 seasons. Well, let me do the thing here. Fox has canceled Prodigal Son after 2 seasons, Friday has learned. The news comes ahead of the 2nd season finale, which is scheduled to air on May 18th. That episode will now serve as a series finale. An insider with knowledge of the situation characterized the move to cancel the series as a difficult one, but wanted to say the show's ratings did not justify a 3rd season. The series follows Malcolm Bright, a criminal profiler with a rare talent for getting inside the minds of killers. He learned how they think because his father, Dr. Martin Whiteley, who was played by Michael Sheen, was a notorious serial killer known as the Surgeon. Now he's using his twisted genius to help the NYPD solve the most puzzling murders. So, well, first of all, that does sound interesting. Not going to lie, that does sound interesting, but I'm going to say it doesn't sound like something I'd be watching, because that's the kind of show I'd like to watch on Showtime or HBO, where they're not hindered by network standards. I don't think I would want to watch a PG-13 version of that show. So, well, those are my thoughts, but I haven't watched it, and who knows, maybe, it has Michael Sheen in it. It can't be that bad, but now that I know it's canceled, I probably won't get into it now. So Jason says, Randy has quite a bit on Doge. His Facebook post is what got me into it. I'm holding mine, having hopes. Well, if you got into it at this point, then yeah, you might as well hold on to it. Keep in mind, I got into it. Some of my purchase was when it was less than a cent. And the rest was bought also very low. So the average coin was 3 cents. And I sold at around the 68 cents mark. So I actually had some real skin in the game on that one, and I had already sold 3,000 coins to $3,000 worth of coins to make sure the investment was protected. And then I sold the rest and cashed out. And now I'll just slowly keep buying more. But yeah, if you just got into it, then yeah, might as well. Now, Chagog says, buy Doge on Thursday, sell on Saturday, maybe Sunday. Well, I say sell when you feel comfortable selling it. That's what I say. Now, why? Oh, there we go. It was stuck there for a second. So, low roller scratcher. I don't know how to answer that. I'm going to say that they're not. I mean, they're basing it on your profit margin and where you live, not on what price you bought the coin at. You could buy the price of the coin at 3 cents a coin. If you sell it at 2 cents, then it doesn't work. You should not have sold your ETC. Yeah, I probably should not have sold that. But, some of the other investments that I've put in have started to come back. And other coins, which no one was talking about, like ETC, went crazy. So I'm going to ultimately be fine. I'm going to be fine. Like John says, the FDA approved that water. Plus, why would you have to be paid to drink such a cool, refreshing drink that's good for your soul? Look, the FDA thing, look, guys, that's a joke. That was totally a joke. I mean, I'm just saying, like, the FDA approves a lot of things. Like when people say the vaccine is not FDA approved, it's like, well, that's true. But you know what they did approve? They've approved Mountain Dew. They've approved Doritos, Cheez-Its, candy. They approve junk that you should not put into your body all the time. Doesn't mean they don't approve good things. They also approve bananas and apples and things like that. But that's the thing. So and no, I don't have to be paid to drink it. I just wanted to point it out because you have to be transparent. Like if you're showing up a product and saying you should buy this, you have to say whether or not they are paying you to promote it or not. That's just a legal thing. So Safe Moon is the hot coin. Any interest? No. No interest in Safe Coin. It reminds me a lot of BitConnect. So speaking of which, yeah. So I'm not going to buy any Safe Moon. That does not. I mean, I always have some concerns when you have to sign up for a very specific service, and you have to buy it in a very specific way. I mean, no, you know what, guys? I'm just going to buy it off SEC approved apps and programs: Coinbase, Robinhood, Webull, PayPal. This is where I'm going to buy my crypto. So, yeah, some of my family and friends did buy Dogecoin. Some of them sold, made a lot of money, and some of them are continuing to hold. And that's their right. Granted, they didn't have the profit margin I did. I mean, I was looking at an additional, potentially up to $20,000 extra. Some of them, it's like, hey, look, we're having a gain of $1,000, but we only put a couple hundred in on it, so we're going to ride it a little bit more. I put $1,000 in, and it was what they call life-changing money. And here's the thing. When you get to the point where it's life-changing, there is no shame whatsoever in selling it. So anyway, it's almost 8 o'clock, so I'm getting ready for bed. So anyway, guys, thank you for joining me. Hold on. Rideshare Source Driver's here. We got to see what he says. He was like, I was told that organic refers to growth, but when they load in the trailer, they wear hazmat suits, fruits getting ripe while being transported. Yeah, that's pretty much how it works. The funny thing is the organic food is in some ways less good for you than the stuff that's grown locally but grown with pesticides. It's a very weird thing, but organic is not intrinsically better than non-organic. And honestly, it's kind of just used as like a catchphrase now. Like now, I don't know if you've ever seen, but have you ever seen like how like a lot of gummy bear packages say organic? Because of course it's made with organic materials. It doesn't mean it's good for you. So anyway, that's where we are going to end this one. Thank you for joining me. I will see you tomorrow with a brand new video. This one on Uber and Lyft, and I deliberately avoided talking about this topic because I had already made a video about it. But yeah, so I'll dig into Uber and Lyft at least once this week. So anyway, take care, everyone, and flame responsibly. Have a good one.